Poor single mom fell asleep on a CEO's shoulder. What happened next shocked everyone. CEO Stories for Sleep. Before we dive in, I want to know, where in the world are you watching from right now? Type your city in the comments so we can see just how far this story reaches. And when we get to the end, I dare you to rate it from 0 to 10, because this one might just break your heart. Now, settle in, breathe deep, and enjoy the story. In the city that never sleeps just past midnight, an unexpected moment silenced the entire subway car. A young, exhausted single mother, drained after a double shift, held her little boy close as he slept against her chest. Without meaning to, she leaned her head and drifted off, right onto the shoulder of a stranger. What no one in that subway car knew was that the man whose shoulder she had found was one of the city's most powerful CEOs. A man whose face graced glossy magazines, a man everyone thought untouchable, yet here he was, on the late-night train, shoulder to shoulder with ordinary souls. The sight of it, her weary eyes, her child's innocent slumber, and the quiet shoulder of a man who held the keys to skyscrapers, created a scene that made every witness ache in silence. A fleeting moment, yes, but one that would become the beginning of a story of love healing and a destiny neither of them ever saw coming. New York, the city of lights that never dims, the city that builds and breaks dreams with the same merciless hand. And somewhere within that restless heartbeat was a young woman fighting her battles alone. Her name was Emma Carter, 26, a waitress in a small diner in Queens, a girl with tangled blonde hair, sleepless eyes, and a strength no one could see until life forced it out of her. She had just finished a 14-hour shift, her bones aching, her spirit stretched thin. In her arms, she cradled the reason she kept going, her 4-year-old son, Oliver. His tiny hand, sticky from leftover pancake syrup, rested against her as he slept deeply, his breath steady on her shoulder. Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket. A message lit up the cracked screen. "Emma, your mom is very weak. If you want to see her, come now." Her heart clenched. The only family she had left, the one anchor of love in her life, was slipping away. And Emma had nothing, no savings, no help, only a pile of unpaid bills and a long subway ride cutting through the cold night. The car rattled and shook, fluorescent lights flickering above. Emma's eyes welled with tears as she clutched her boy tighter. Her head dipped too heavy to hold up any longer, and in that fragile moment, fate intervened. The man beside her sat straight, dressed in a tailored navy suit. His jawline was sharp, his posture proud, his expression carrying the weight of endless meetings in skyscraper boardrooms. His name was Liam Callahan, a millionaire CEO, fresh from Manhattan's glittering towers. 2 lives, 2 worlds, one worn down by struggle, the other polished by power. And yet, in the blink of an eye, destiny placed them side by side. What happened next would change everything. Part 1. The defining moment. Late night New York was never as peaceful as people liked to believe. From deep underground came the screech of steel wheels against steel rails, echoing down the tunnels like the weary breath of a city that never slept. The fluorescent bulbs above flickered fitfully, casting pale light over the last few tired passengers who clung to the midnight train. At the far end of the car, Emma Carter sat curled into herself, both arms wrapped protectively around her little boy. 4-year-old Oliver slept soundly on her lap, his lashes trembling now and then, his syrup-sticky cheek soft as an angel's. Emma forced a faint smile as she brushed a wisp of hair from his face, but behind it, her eyes were red-rimmed, her body heavy with exhaustion and grief. In her mind, the message from her aunt replayed like a tolling bell. Emma, your mother is very weak. If you want to see her, come now. Her chest tightened. Her throat burned. She wasn't ready to say goodbye, not to the only person who had ever sheltered her. But she had no choice. And yet tonight, with only a few crumpled bills in her pocket, she couldn't even afford a taxi across town. The subway car rocked gently. Emma's head tipped back, her eyelids too heavy to hold. She didn't notice the man seated beside her, hadn't noticed that he'd been watching since the moment she stepped inside. Liam Callahan. The navy suit still smelled faintly of expensive wine from a dinner with investors. His tie was loosened, but his spine remained straight, the posture of a man who'd survived 1,000 boardrooms. A tablet glowed in his hands, filled with columns of figures and reports. Yet his eyes drifted not to numbers, but to the young woman at his side. Her hair fell loose, tangled from the day. Her shoulders trembled under a thin jacket. The child in her arms curled close, clinging, as though his mother were the only safe place in the world. And then it happened. Emma's head slipped sideways, landing lightly against his shoulder. For the first time in years, Liam froze. It had been so long since anyone touched him, in a way so uncalculated, so innocent. He could smell the faint soap still clinging to her hair, feel the tremor of her breath, the weight of her exhaustion. He could have shifted away. He could have woken her. But he didn't. Instead, he reached into his pocket, unfolded a silk handkerchief, and placed it gently between his shoulder and her cheek, making the contact softer, safer. His gaze softened too, losing the hard edge of Wall Street armor. Emma had no idea that she was leaning on one of the most powerful men in the city, and Liam. Liam hadn't expected that a fleeting touch on a midnight train could stir something so deeply buried. The car grew silent. An old woman across the aisle smiled knowingly. A student raised his phone, capturing the moment, as though afraid the rare tenderness of New York would vanish if not preserved. The subway lurched. Emma startled awake. Her eyes fluttered open, blurred by the flickering light. Realization struck like lightning. She was resting against a stranger. She gasped, sat upright, her hand covering her mouth. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Her voice trembled, a mix of panic and shame. She glanced around, hoping no one had noticed. But the car was still filled, only with the grinding of wheels below. The man turned toward her, his face calm, his green eyes, steady eyes that belonged to a man accustomed to signing million-dollar deals, yet they glimmered now with something softer. "It's all right," he said, his voice low-touched with a faint English lilt. "You looked like you needed the rest." Emma lowered her gaze. The worn diner uniform, the grease-stained shoes, the calloused hands, all of it made her feel so small, so ordinary. She had never felt more exposed. "I didn't mean to. I was just so tired. I don't apologize," he interrupted gently. His tone was not sharp, but soothing, like a warm blanket spread across cold shoulders. "There's nothing wrong with resting. Nothing wrong at all." Her throat tightened with unshed tears. She clutched Oliver tighter, afraid that if she loosened her grip even a little, the world might fall apart. Liam watched his chest aching in a way he hadn't expected. He had attended banquets beneath crystal chandeliers, stood shoulder to shoulder with powerhouses of industry, yet never, not once, had he seen something as real as this: a young mother clinging to her child, so worn that she'd fallen into a stranger's arms. The intercom crackled. Queensboro Plaza, next stop. Emma jolted upright, hurried to gather her bag. She lifted Oliver carefully into her arms. For the briefest moment, her eyes flicked toward Liam. She seemed as though she wanted to say something more, but the words never came. Before the doors slid closed behind her, she whispered, "Thank you." Truly. Liam inclined his head, calm, though something unreadable flickered in his gaze. As the train pulled away, he sat still, one hand resting over the silk handkerchief that still held the warmth of her cheek. The city roared on outside, but inside Liam Callahan, something quiet had been set alight, a fragile spark born from a fleeting accidental touch. And though Emma didn't yet know it, her life had just stepped across the threshold of fate. Part 2. An act of kindness. The hospital lobby at midnight gleamed with harsh white light. Nurses rushed past, their shoes clicking sharply against the floor, each hurried step pounding like a drum against Emma's chest. She stood there, clutching Oliver close, her tired eyes fixed on the signs overhead. ICU. Third floor. Her heart longed to sprint upstairs, but her body faltered. Nearly 20 hours on her feet had drained her strength, leaving her dizzy, her arms trembling as she held her little boy. "Are you sure you're all right?" The low, steady voice came from behind. Liam. He didn't touch her, only watched with that quiet intensity. Emma nodded, forcing herself to look strong. "I just need to see my mom. After that, Oliver and I will find somewhere to stay." Liam's eyes flicked to the boy, sleeping in her arms, unaware of the storm closing in around them. He drew a deep breath and gave a single nod. "Go to her. I'll wait here." Emma hesitated, surprised. She almost argued, but his calm, unyielding gaze silenced her. She simply lowered her head and stepped into the elevator. An hour later, Emma returned. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her face pale and hollow, as though grief had stolen years from her in a single night. Oliver slept heavily limp in her embrace. Her knees nearly buckled. Liam was there, instantly steadying her with a strong arm. "Easy," he murmured. "I'm sorry," Emma whispered, breathless. "I'm just so tired." He studied her, truly studied her. This woman who refused to break even as the world pressed her into the ground. A woman who never asked for help, yet needed saving more than anyone he'd ever met. Liam tilted his head toward his driver, who moved quickly to the reception desk. Emma frowned. "What did you just do?" "Arranged a room for you," Liam answered simply. His voice left no space for debate. "One night, right next to the hospital." Emma froze. Tears stung her eyes. She shook her head. "No, I can't. I don't want to owe you or anyone." His gaze sharpened, but not unkindly. "Emma, kindness isn't a debt. Sometimes it's just what people owe each other as human beings." The words struck deep, cracking the walls she had built around her heart. The hotel room was small but warm. Golden light spilled across crisp white beds. A wooden table held a steaming kettle and packets of tea. Not luxury, but safety. Emma stood still in the doorway, disbelieving. Years of curling up on diner benches with her son or huddling in moldy apartments had never prepared her for this. Oliver stirred half asleep and whispered as he blinked at the clean white room, "Mommy, our house is so pretty." The words cut and healed her all at once. Emma kissed his forehead, tears falling silently onto the pillow. Our house. Two simple words, but words that had always been out of reach. Liam lingered in the doorway, watching. He had slept in Mansion's penthouse's 5-star suites, but tonight for the first time, he understood the weight of the word home. Emma tucked Oliver in, then turned her face streaked with tears. I don't even know what to say. No one has ever been this kind to me." "There's nothing to say," Liam replied quietly. "Rest. You'll need your strength tomorrow." She only nodded, unable to speak. He turned to leave his hand pausing on the door handle. He glanced back once more, taking in the fragile peace of a mother and child finally safe. Softly, almost to himself, he murmured, "This isn't charity. It's what you should have had all along." The door closed, leaving Emma in a silence she hadn't known in years. A silence filled not with fear, but with shelter. Morning came in golden shafts of light through the thin curtains. Emma stirred, blinking at the clean ceiling above. For a moment, she didn't recognize it. No mildew, no broken heaters groaning through the night. Only quiet. Only safety. Oliver still slept, arms wrapped around his plastic dinosaur, his little chest rising and falling in rhythm. Emma smiled through tears. It had been so long since he slept without waking. A knock at the door startled her. She opened it to find Liam, not in a tailored suit, but in a plain white shirt sleeves rolled up. In his hands, a paper bag fragrant with coffee and fresh pastries. "Good morning," he said, his voice gentler now. "I thought you might need something before going back to the hospital." Emma flushed, standing awkwardly in the doorway. "You didn't have to." "Not have to." He interrupted, a faint smile ghosting his lips. "I wanted to." He set the bag on the table, pulling out coffee-warm waffles, and when a small carton of milk tumbled free, he lifted a brow. "For Oliver. I'm guessing he likes sweet things." Emma gripped the edge of the table, overwhelmed. A lump rose in her throat. For years, the world had turned a blind eye. Now, one simple gesture threatened to undo her completely. Her voice trembled. "Why? Why are you helping me? I have nothing to give back." Liam's gaze was steady, unwavering. "Emma, not every kindness asks for payment. Sometimes it's just a reminder that people can still be good to one another." Emma's chest constricted. His words tore open old wounds, but they soothed them too. From the bed came the rustle of sheets. Oliver sat up, hair-tousled cheeks flushed. His eyes found the milk on the table lighting up. "Mommy, is that for me?" Emma laughed softly through her tears. "Yes, sweetheart. That kind man brought it for us." Oliver's round eyes turned to Liam. "Are you a superhero?" The room stilled. Emma's breath caught, afraid Liam might bristle. Instead, a rare smile tugged at his lips. "No," he said gently. "Not a superhero. Just a friend of your mom's." Oliver tilted his head, then grinned. "Can I call you the good guy?" Then Emma's throat closed. She bowed her head quickly, hiding the flood of tears. "Say, thank you, Oliver. Thank you, good guy," the boy chirped, clutching his milk. Liam's throat tightened. He had been praised in boardrooms, applauded in magazines, but nothing had ever pierced him like those two small words, good guy. All he could manage was a quiet nod. You're welcome, kid. Emma saw it then, the flicker of light in Liam's eyes. Not wealth, not power, but humanity. A heart that could still ache for someone else's struggle. And that realization unsettled her more than anything. Breakfast passed in rare peace. Oliver chattered about dreams of flying dinosaurs and good guys who never let him fall. Emma listened, torn between laughter and tears. When Oliver darted off to play, Emma finally turned to Liam, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. You don't owe me anything, but you've done so much. I don't know how to thank you. Leaning back, Liam's gaze held hers calm and deep. He waited a long moment before answering. Sometimes just knowing you're not alone, that's enough to keep someone moving. You deserve that, Emma. Her heart ached. 4 long years of loneliness pressed against her chest. And now, with a single sentence, her defenses threatened to break. She whispered, almost afraid of the words, I'm scared. If I grow used to this kindness and it disappears, I won't survive it. Liam studied her, his jaw tightening. For a moment, he almost reached for her hand but stopped. His voice dropped low. Some things, Emma, aren't meant to be taken away. They're meant to stay. Silence filled the room. Not heavy, not cold. Just a quiet space where two people from opposite worlds found a fragile thread of trust. Then Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, frowning a call from the office. With a quiet sigh, he rose. I have to go. Business? Emma stood too uncertain. I won't forget this. He inclined his head, turning for the door. But before he left, his voice lingered in the air. Hold on to tonight, Emma. At the very least, believe that kindness still exists. The door closed softly. Emma stood frozen, Oliver's laughter echoing behind her. For the first time in years, a seed of hope had been planted in her chest. She had no idea that seed would one day change everything. Part 3. The first breakfast. The next morning, New York seemed to breathe a little softer. Early sunlight slipped through the leaves, scattering golden streaks across the damp sidewalk. Emma carried Oliver out of the hospital, her arms aching, but her heart a fraction lighter. She hadn't slept a minute all night yet. Relief steadied her. Her mother had woken fragile, but alive, her hand clutching Emma's with the whisper, Don't give up, Emma. Live for yourself, and for Oliver. Outside the gates, a sleek black sedan waited. The door opened and Liam stepped out. No suit today, just a navy sweater, simple and understated, but the quiet authority in his posture was unmistakable. His eyes found hers. He didn't ask questions. He only nodded, the kind of nod that said, Is she okay? Emma answered with a nod of her own. Words stuck in her throat. Oliver broke the silence, his face lighting up. Hey, it's the good guy. You came back. Liam's laughter, rare, unguarded, echoed softly in the morning air. He crouched to Oliver's level. You remember me? Of course. Oliver grinned. I even dreamed you brought me dinosaur pancakes. Emma covered her mouth to hide a smile. Her son hardly trusted strangers. And yet here he was claiming a bond with a man they had only just met. Straightening, Liam glanced at Emma. There's a small cafe on the corner. Let me buy you both a real breakfast. If you'll let me. Emma hesitated. She never accepted invitations, least of all from a man like him. But Oliver tugged her sleeve with shining eyes. Please, Mom. I want dinosaur pancakes. with a sigh that was half surrender, half amusement. Emma nodded. Liam gestured toward the car with a politeness that felt less like command and more like care. The cafe was tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop, the kind of place where warm light pooled in corners, and the air smelled of roasted beans and sweet waffles. They chose a table by the window. Sunlight streamed across the glass, wrapping the three of them in a glow so gentle that Emma's chest ached. For a fleeting moment, they looked like a family, an image fragile yet whole. Oliver stretched across the table for the oversized menu, flipping it as if it were a picture book. His little voice rose with excitement. Bagels, waffles, pancakes, Mom, they have dinosaur pancakes. Emma laughed, brushing his tousled hair. Sweetheart, you really think we're in Jurassic Park? Yes, because if the good guy's here, there have to be dinosaurs. Her cheeks flushed. Liam chuckled, eyes warm. He leaned toward Oliver, lowering his voice like a conspirator. So which will it be? T-Rex or Triceratops? Oliver gasped wide-eyed. You know their names. Of course, Liam said, with a faint grin. I used to be a little boy who loved dinosaurs too. And between you and me, T-Rex never ate pancakes. But today, he just might break the rules. Laughter bubbled at the table. Oliver clapped with glee. T-Rex, pancake, and Mom. What about you? Emma ducked her head. Just coffee? Liam studied her, his voice softening. A mother who stayed up all night in a hospital deserves more than coffee. I'll add a croissant for you. She almost refused, but his tone wasn't forceful, only quietly considerate. She nodded. The orders came: a dinosaur pancake for Oliver, a cappuccino and croissant for Emma, and for Liam, a simple espresso. While they waited, Oliver scribbled dinosaurs on scraps of paper, lifting his drawings proudly. Good guy does this. T-Rex looked like you. Liam's laugh was light, almost boyish. Emma stared for a beat, struck by how easily her son trusted him. When the food arrived, Oliver's eyes widened in wonder. On his plate sat a giant pancake shaped like a T-Rex, with chocolate chip eyes and a whipped cream tail. Oh, wow, look, Mom, it's real, he squealed. Emma's chest tightened. She couldn't remember the last time she saw her son this purely happy. Oliver scooped a piece, then paused. Instead of eating it, he placed it carefully on Liam's plate. This is for you, because you like T-Rex too. Liam stilled. He had accepted Champagne Toast's industry awards and magazine covers, but never had a child handed him a piece of pancake with such innocence. His voice trembled slightly. Thank you, Oliver. This might be the best pancake I've ever had. Emma's eyes burned. Her son had never shared food so freely with anyone but her. Then Oliver cut another piece, laying it on her plate. And this is for you, Mommy. You always save food for me, so now I'm saving some for you. Her breath caught. She pulled him close, whispering, Thank you, baby. Liam watched quietly, his chest tight. In them, he saw resilience, love, a bond so pure that for the first time in years, he longed to belong inside it. They ate together, the noise of the city muffled beyond the glass. Inside was only warmth, a boy's laughter, a mother's soft smile, and a man slowly finding his place at the table. When Oliver declared that the last bite must be shared so the T-Rex doesn't come back, Emma blushed. Liam grinned, and for a moment it felt like home. Then came the question that froze them both. Oliver's syrup on his chin pointed at his drawing. 3 circles, joined side by side. This is our family, Mommy, me, and the good guy. Emma's heart twisted. She wanted to tell him not to trust so quickly, not to dream too soon. But when her gaze lifted to Liam, sitting quietly, with that rare softness in his eyes, the words dissolved on her tongue. She only held her son tighter, knowing something fragile and dangerous was already being woven between them. As they left the cafe, Oliver skipped between them, one small hand clasping Emma's, the other Liam's. The morning sun bathed them in gold. For the first time in years, Emma realized she didn't feel quite so lost in the vast city. Part 4. The Forgotten Dream. That afternoon, Emma sat in the quiet hospital room. Pale sunlight slipped through the dusty window, laying long shadows across the cold white floor. Oliver slept on a narrow sofa, clutching his plastic dinosaur in his little fist. The only sound was the steady beep, beep of the heart monitor, like the ticking of an old clock. Emma held her mother's fragile hand, the skin paper-thin in her palm. The old woman's breathing was shallow, her eyelids heavy. It felt as though if Emma let go, she would drift away forever. Emma. Her mother's voice was raspy, faint, but determined. Emma bent closer. "I'm here, Mom. I'm right here." Her mother's lips trembled into a whisper. "When I was strong, I dreamed of seeing you in a cap and gown, your name on the front page of a newspaper. I always believed you had a gift to write, to tell stories others would ignore." The words pierced through Emma's chest. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Mom, I gave that up. When I had Oliver, I didn't have a choice. I had to survive. I had to work. I don't have dreams anymore." Her mother shook her head, weak but firm. Her eyes opened fierce, even in their fading light. "Emma, don't ever think being a mother means losing yourself. Oliver needs your strength, but he also needs to know his mother once dreamed, once dared. Don't let him grow up believing life is only sacrifice." Emma sobbed, unable to answer. She had buried her dream under bills, double shifts, and nights of silent tears. But now, her mother's words stirred something inside her, like an ember glowing faintly after years in the dark. The door opened softly. Liam entered, holding a small bouquet. Not roses or lilies, but simple yellow daisies. Flowers he'd noticed on the street, humble but bright. He set them on the table beside the bed and sat down without a word. He didn't ask questions. He didn't offer platitudes. His presence alone filled the silence steady as an anchor. As the room sank into dusk, Emma sat by her mother's bed, fingers still entwined with the frail hand, while Liam sat across, watching quietly. The air was thick with unspoken things, but for once she didn't feel alone. At last, when her mother's breathing settled, Emma turned. Her voice trembled, but her words came slow and clear. "Did you know? I once wanted to be a journalist. I used to spend hours in the library, picking apart editorials, dreaming that one day my words could change how people see the world." Liam leaned forward, his chin resting on his hand. And then Emma gave a brittle laugh. "Then life happened. I found out I was pregnant. He left. I dropped out of school. And just like that, my dream broke on the keyboard I was typing on." Her hands tightened in her lap. "Since then, all I've written are bills, diner orders, or notes from my manager. I told myself I didn't have the right to dream anymore. Oliver needed a mother who worked not one, lost in fantasies." Even as she spoke, her eyes betrayed her. The word right lit them with a glow she hadn't felt in years. Liam's voice dropped low and steady. "Emma, I've met hundreds of people, businessmen, politicians, dreamers, schemers. Very few had that light in their eyes when they spoke of something they loved. You have it, and it's not gone. Her heart thudded hard. She'd grown used to judgment, dismissal, pity. But his words cracked through her armor. You're saying as if... I still have a chance, she whispered, not as if Liam said firmly. You do. It's right in front of you. You only need the courage to see it. Her tears came again, but this time they carried something else, a stirring of hope. Later that night, back in the small hotel room, Oliver slept peacefully, his dinosaur tucked in his arms. The desk lamp glowed softly. Emma sat before the old borrowed laptop, staring at the blank screen. Her hands hovered over the keys, trembling. What could she possibly write? Who would care about the words of a single mother, barely scraping by? Her mother's voice echoed, "Don't let Oliver think life is only sacrifice." Liam's voice followed, "Not trying is the only real failure." Emma drew a shaky breath, then began to type. I never planned to be a mother at 22. I never thought I'd raise a child alone in one of the most expensive cities in the world. But life never asks, it simply arrives, and it tests you. The words poured out, hesitant at first, then rushing like a flood. She wrote of endless shifts of watching Oliver fall asleep on diner tables of loneliness that pressed against her chest like stone. But she also wrote of Oliver's laughter, her mother's pride, the small, fragile hope that never fully died. Tears dripped onto the keys, but her fingers didn't stop. By 3 a.m., over 3,000 words filled the screen, raw, imperfect, but alive. Emma leaned back, hands shaking, heart pounding. I can still write, she whispered. I'm still me. Morning light streamed through the curtains, landing on the laptop still glowing on the desk. Oliver slept soundly, his breath soft. Emma stared at the draft, her finger hovering over the send button. If they reject me, if they laugh at me. A knock startled her. She opened the door. Liam stood there, in a gray sweater, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. His eyes softened when they met hers. You haven't slept, he murmured, handing her a cup. He glanced at the laptop screen, then back at her. You haven't sent it yet, Emma's voice cracked. What if they laugh at me? What if all I am is just a tired waitress with a son and no future? Liam set his cup down. His tone was quiet, but unyielding. Emma, you've survived nights that would have broken others. You've raised a child with nothing but grit and love. If anyone dares say you're not enough, that's their blindness, not your failure. He stepped closer, not touching, only steadying. Hitting send isn't about proving anything to the world. It's about proving to yourself that you never gave up. Emma's throat closed, her eyes blurred. Her hand trembled on the mouse. Liam rested a hand gently on the back of her chair. Not pressure, only presence. Emma closed her eyes, drew in a breath, and clicked. The whoosh of an email sent echoed in the quiet room. Her hands flew to her face. She sobbed, half in fear, half in release. I did it. I actually did it. Liam said nothing. His gaze was steady, proud, almost tender. Outside, the city stirred under the morning sun. Inside, Emma Carter had just taken her first step back toward herself. Part 5. Rewriting a life night settled over New York, with a kind of stillness only found on side streets where neon flickered and the city's roar dimmed to a hush. In the small hotel room, the only glow came from Emma's laptop screen. She sat at the desk, eyes red, but steady fingers trembling over the keys. Oliver slept nearby, clutching his plastic dinosaur as if it were a loyal friend. His breathing was soft, steady, a reminder of why Emma kept fighting. She glanced at him, heart torn between the weight of responsibility and the spark of courage she hadn't felt in years. On the screen was her draft, raw, vulnerable, filled with slices of her life nights that stretched into dawn at the diner dinners of bread and water, forced smiles through burning eyes. Every sentence was a scar, every paragraph a confession. Her chest rose with a shaky breath. Who would want to read the struggle of a nameless single mother? Then Liam's words returned strong and certain. Failure doesn't cost you anyone, but not trying will cost you yourself. Tears blurred her vision. She hovered over the send button. Her mother's voice echoed next. Don't let Oliver believe sacrifice is all there is. Show him his mother once had dreams. Emma pressed her lips together, gathered all the courage she had left, and clicked. The whoosh of the email leaving was soft, but to her it was thunder. She covered her face, sobbing no longer from fear, but from the release of carrying her dream out into the world. Oliver stirred in his sleep, murmuring, "Mom." Emma rushed to his side, cradling him close. She whispered into his hair, "I did it, Oliver. I didn't give up." In that tiny hotel room in the vast city that had almost swallowed her whole, Emma Carter had just rewritten the first line of her life. Morning came too quickly. Emma sat by the window, a cup of coffee cooling in her hands. Oliver still slept beneath the white blankets, his blonde hair sticking in every direction. Outside, New York thundered awake with car horns and hurried footsteps. Inside, time seemed to pause. Her phone lit up, a notification. Her heart skipped, but it was only a grocery store promotion. She sighed, resting her head against the wall. What did I expect? Maybe they deleted my email the moment they saw my name. The hours dragged. She picked up her phone, put it down, picked it up again. Her chest tightened at the thought of an editor laughing at her words. Near noon, Liam called. His voice, calm as ever, came through the line. "Emma, how are you? Have they answered yet?" Her voice faltered. "No. And maybe they never will. Maybe I was foolish to believe I could still write." For a beat, silence. Then Liam's voice, steady, unwavering. "No, Emma. The moment you wrote again, the moment you pressed send, that was victory. Their reply is only the next step." His words sank into her, anchoring her. He believed in her more than she believed in herself. And then it happened. Her phone buzzed. A new email. Emma froze. The sender's name flashed Claire Winters Callahan Media. Her breath caught. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. "Liam," she whispered. "There's an email." "Then open it," he said softly. Emma swallowed hard, tapped the screen, and read through the blur of tears. "Emma, this is exactly the voice we've been searching for. Honest, moving, profoundly human. We'd like to invite you to collaborate on our upcoming project. Please arrange a meeting this week." The phone slipped to her lap. She burst into tears, tears of joy this time. "They heard me," she whispered. "Someone finally heard me." Her laughter tangled with her sobs as she picked the phone back up. "Liam, they want me. They said my writing is exactly what they need." There was silence on the line, long enough to let her joy echo back to herself. Then his voice came rougher than usual. "I told you, Emma, you never lost your dream. It was waiting for you to return. I'm proud of you." She wept again, but this time with a smile breaking through. "Thank you. Without you, I never would have dared." "No," Liam said quietly. "This was your victory. I was only here to witness it." From the bed, a small voice rose. "Mom, are you crying? Who made you cry?" Emma rushed to Oliver, wiping her tears. "No, sweetheart. I'm not sad. I'm happy. I just got chosen to write for a real newspaper." His eyes widened, then sparkled. "Really? Mommy's a journalist. Can I tell my teacher?" Emma laughed through her tears, hugging him tight. "Yes, Oliver, you can." Oliver clapped his hands and shouted toward the phone still on speaker. "See, good guy, I told you my mom is special." On the other end, Liam chuckled, warm, genuine, rare. "You're right, Oliver. She's the most special woman I've ever met." Emma's heart skipped. His words lodged deep inside her. She looked at her son's proud face and imagined for just a moment Liam's calm green eyes beside them. Her life was truly turning a page. 2 days later, Emma stood before the towering glass building of Callahan Media. The facade gleamed like a mirror, swallowing the gray sky above. She clutched her worn canvas bag inside a notebook and a few printed drafts. She had traded her diner uniform for a plain blue dress, but still felt small among the sharp suits and polished heels that clicked across the marble floors. "Excuse me," she murmured at the reception desk, her voice shaking. "I have an appointment with Claire Winters." The receptionist's eyes flicked over her outdated dress and scuffed shoes before settling into a polite smile. "Yes, go on up. 14th floor. They're expecting you." Emma's knees trembled as she stepped into the elevator. "What am I doing here?" "This is for people with degrees, portfolios, experience. Not me." The doors were closing when a deep voice called out, "Hold the elevator." Her eyes shot up. Liam stepped inside, tailored suit, perfectly cut tie, loosened his calm presence filling the space. He nodded to a few passing employees, then his gaze rested on her. "You made it?" he said, voice gentle in the hush of the elevator. Emma blinked, stunned. You're here too." A faint smile touched his lips. "This is one of my companies. I thought my being here might make you feel a little less out of place." Her throat tightened. In that moment, with her nerves twisting inside her, his presence was the anchor she needed. For the first time since stepping into that building, Emma didn't feel like she was walking alone. Part 6. A Miracle of Work. That night, New York's noise faded into the distance. In the small hotel room, only the laptop's bluish glow lit Emma's face. She sat at the desk, shoulders, tense eyes, weary but alive with something new. Oliver slept nearby, his breaths steady, his little arms wrapped tightly around his plastic dinosaur as if guarding a secret world of his own. Emma looked at him so peaceful, so safe, and felt both steadied and pulled taut by the weight of everything resting on her shoulders. Her inbox pinged. A new email appeared, its subject line stark and simple. "Regarding your draft, Callahan Media." Her heart pounded. She braced both hands against her lap to steady the tremor. Then slowly, she clicked. "Emma, we have read your submission. It moved us deeply. Your writing is raw, truthful, and filled with the kind of emotion we've been searching for. We'd like to officially invite you to join us as a freelance contributor. If you agree, please confirm so we may schedule your first meeting." Claire Winters, Senior Editor, Callahan Media. The world went silent. Emma clapped her hand over her mouth, tears streaming before she could stop them. Every late shift in a greasy uniform, every night collapsing into silence, every humiliation endured just to survive, they rushed back, colliding with this one shimmering moment. "Oh God," she whispered, her voice breaking. She sobbed, but it wasn't sorrow. This time, it was release. It was being seen after years of invisibility. Oliver stirred, blinking awake. "Mom, why are you crying again?" Emma pulled him close, kissing his hair. "Not sad tears, sweetheart. These are happy ones. Because my dream, it came back." He blinked, then smiled drowsily. "So you're a real writer now?" Emma nodded through tears. "Yes, Oliver, I am." In that instant, she knew her life had turned. Not because of fairy tales, but because of courage, and because one man had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Liam Callahan. Morning found her in front of the mirror, fastening the cardigan over her faded blue dress. The cotton was worn, but clean. She whispered to her reflection, "They don't need my clothes. They need my voice." Oliver tugged her sleeve. "Mom, will you write about me? Put my name in the newspaper." Emma laughed softly, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Maybe not today. Today, Mommy just has to be brave enough to walk through those doors." After dropping Oliver with her friend, Emma hailed a cab. The glass tower of Callahan Media loomed ahead, dazzling and intimidating all at once. She slowed her steps, heart-hammering. And then, like a steady echo, Liam's words came back. "Failure takes nothing from you. Not trying takes everything." On the 14th floor, a tall woman with sleek hair and poised confidence greeted her. "Emma Carter. I'm Claire Winters. So glad you came." Emma nodded, clutching her bag, her voice a whisper. "Thank you. It's an honor." Inside the conference room, bright light spilled across walls lined with storyboards and pinned drafts. Claire sat across from her, eyes warm yet sharp. "I read your piece 3 times, she said. "It was honest, brave, and it gave us exactly what we're missing." Emma's pulse raced. "I only wrote the truth." "Exactly," Claire replied. "That truth is rare. Our new feature, Life Stories, will showcase extraordinary strength in ordinary people. I want you in our very first issue." Emma's breath caught. Her hands tightened together. "Do you really think I'm capable?" Claire leaned forward, unwavering. "Emma, a single mother who dares to pick up her pen again, that alone proves you're capable. The world needs voices like yours." Tears threatened again. Claire slid the tissue box across the table, smiling gently. "Welcome to Callahan Media." When the meeting ended, Emma stepped into the hallway, with the folder clutched against her chest. Her knees trembled, her heart fluttered. "I'm really here. I'm really a writer again." The elevator carried her down. In its mirrored walls, she saw not the diner waitress she'd been, but a woman holding her dream once more. The lobby's marble gleamed. Sunlight streamed down from towering windows. And leaning casually against a column near the doors, waiting, was Liam. No tailored armor today. Just a white shirt sleeves rolled tie loose. Still, he stood out as if the entire place bent toward him. You're here?" Emma asked, stopping short. "I had a meeting upstairs," he said easily. Then his eyes softened. "But truthfully, I wanted to see you walk out of that room with a smile." Her cheeks warmed. She lifted the folder slightly, voice trembling. "I was accepted. Claire wants me on the project. I still can't believe it." "Believe it," Liam said, stepping closer. I believed in you long before you believed in yourself." Her throat tightened. She looked down, blinking fast. "Thank you. If it weren't for you, don't," he said gently, cutting her off. His voice lowered. "This was your path, Emma. I only walked beside you to remind you of your strength." She looked up then, and in the golden light flooding the lobby, she saw his eyes clearly. No armor, no distance, just quiet truth. For the first time, in the grand glittering halls of a world she thought wasn't hers, Emma didn't feel out of place at all. That evening, back in the small hotel room, Oliver greeted her with laughter. Crayons scattered around him. He held up a paper covered in messy circles. "Look, Mom, this is our family, me, you, and the good guy." Emma swept him into her arms, kissing his cheek. "Maybe not today, but one day. Soon the world will know your name too." Oliver hugged her tight, her eyes shining. "I knew you could do it. You're the best mom." Emma's tears returned, but with a smile this time. She whispered, "Thank you for always believing in me, even when I forgot how." Later that night, when the city hummed outside, Emma sat at her laptop again. Across the blank screen, a new title appeared: "Ordinary Moments That Make Extraordinary Lives." The words came easier now. She wrote of mothers who never quit, of mornings laced with exhaustion, yet carried by love, of small acts of kindness that felt like miracles. And when the knock came at the door, she already knew who it was. Liam stood there, no grandeur, just a paper bag in hand. "I figured you haven't eaten since lunch," he said, setting sandwiches and hot tea on the desk. Emma smiled, shy but grateful. "You didn't have to." "No," he answered, simply meeting her eyes. "But I wanted to." He moved to the window, gazing at the glittering city below. She returned to her writing, and with him quietly present, her words flowed freer, lighter, as if her courage had found a steady place to rest. When at last she leaned back, whispering, "It's done." Liam crossed the room, hand resting lightly on her chair. "May I?" he asked. She nodded. He read silently, every line, every word. Then he looked up, eyes deep with pride. "Emma, this isn't just writing. This is your heart. People will feel it. They won't be able to ignore it." Her vision blurred again. "You really think so?" "I don't just think it," Liam said softly. "I know it. You found your voice again." And in that small room with the city spread out beyond the window, Emma realized miracles weren't always grand. Sometimes they came in quiet forms, like a child's faith, a mother's blessing, and a man who reminded her she was never as powerless as she believed. Part 7. The Gala Night. That evening, Manhattan's skyline shimmered like glass spun into light. At the heart of it, the Grand Hotel gleamed as if carved out of a dream, its chandeliers glittering marble floors polished to mirrors, violins sweeping through the ballroom air. Women in gowns that sparkled like falling stars drifted past men in crisp tuxedos, champagne glasses catching the light. The scent of roses and expensive perfume lingered with every movement, every whisper. Emma stood at the threshold, her hand tightening around a worn clutch. The navy evening gown she wore wasn't couture. It was borrowed from an old coworker, simple, unadorned. Yet on her, with her golden hair swept back and her luminous eyes, it made her stand out in a way she never intended. Beside her, Liam entered, like the world was his stage. His tailored tuxedo framed his tall frame, every line precise, every step sure. But when he looked at her, the sharp edge of power in his face softened. "You all right?" he asked gently. Emma forced a breath, managing a smile. "All right. Until someone realizes I don't belong here." Liam held out his hand, steady, inviting. "Then let them look at me. Because tonight, Emma, you're the only one I want beside me." Her pulse trembled. She slid her hand into his, letting his warmth steady her steps as they crossed into the ballroom. Instantly, heads turned. Some men greeted Liam with nods of respect. Women whispered behind jeweled fingers, their eyes flicking toward Emma with quiet judgment. Her throat tightened. Each step felt like walking through glass. At the champagne table, Liam pressed a glass into her hand, keeping only water for himself. "Don't mind them," he murmured. "Everyone here wears masks. Just be you." But before she could reply, a presence swept into their path, a woman in a crimson gown that clung like fire satin, glinting under crystal light. Her smile was sharp, her steps deliberate. "Liam Callahan," she purred, her voice rich with history. "It's been far too long." Liam's grip on Emma's hand tightened reassurance. His nod was calm. "Vanessa." Emma's stomach dropped. The name was familiar, from business columns and whispered circles. Vanessa Caldwell, heir to a fortune and a rival dynasty. Her eyes slid toward Emma, assessing before her smile curved like a blade. "And this is..." "Emma Carter." Liam said, his voice firm, warm. "The one I wanted you to meet." Emma's heart jolted at the way he said it, clear, unhesitant. But Vanessa's eyes gleamed with disdain. "Emma Carter." "Oh, yes," she said lightly, too lightly. "Didn't you once work at a diner in Queen's Heat?" Flushed Emma's cheeks. The words were dressed as idle conversation, but everyone nearby heard the cut beneath them. A couple of women stifled little laughs. Emma's fingers clenched around the champagne flute, but her voice held steady. "Yes, I was a waitress, and I'm proud of it. It's how I've raised my son." For a flicker of a moment, Vanessa's smile faltered. Then it sharpened again. "Brave of you. Liam, you always did have unusual choices." Silence pressed in. Liam's arm slid around Emma's back, protective, unshaken. "No, Vanessa," he said evenly. "This isn't unusual. This is the right choice." Emma's chest tightened. Her eyes stung. For the first time that evening, she felt seen, claimed not as a mistake, but as someone he chose without apology. Vanessa's smirk lingered. "We'll see how long that lasts." With a swirl of red silk and perfume, she turned away, leaving her shadow behind. Emma's steps quickened. Her shoes pinched, her chest ached. She pushed through the ballroom's doors and onto the terrace, the night air rushing cold against her skin. Below her, the city lights stretched endlessly, like a galaxy fallen to Earth. She gripped the balcony rail, eyes squeezed shut. She's right. I don't belong. I'm a waitress, a single mom. And he's Liam Callahan, the name on the cover of Forbes. "Emma," his voice, low, steady. She turned. Liam had followed, closing the terrace door behind him, shutting out the music and chatter. His gaze was softer now, stripped of boardroom armor. "Don't listen to her," he said quietly. Emma's eyes brimmed. "Did you not see the way she looked at me? The way everyone looked at me? They all think I'm nothing. And maybe they're right." Liam stepped closer, his hands firm on her shoulders. He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet the intensity of his gaze. "Emma Carter," he said slowly. I've spent years surrounded by people who measure worth by money, by names, by masks, but not one of them has ever felt as real as you. You've faced more battles than they could imagine. That's what makes you extraordinary." She shook her head, whispering, "All I have is a hard past, a child, and in courage," he cut in his voice, fierce and unwavering. "A heart that refuses to quit. They don't get to define you. Only you do." Emma trembled, her tears falling freely now. "And you truly think I'm enough?" He bent close, his words brushing her ear like a vow. "Not enough. The very one I've been searching for." The night air wrapped cold around them, but Liam's touch was warm, anchoring. Emma drew a deep breath, steadier now. She nodded faintly. "All right, I'll go back in." His smile was quiet but triumphant. He held out his hand again. This time hers slid into it without hesitation. Together, they re-entered the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers blazed overhead. Music swelled. Eyes followed them once more, curious, judgmental, envious. Emma's heart pounded at the whispers. A waitress. How odd for Liam. But Liam's hand never left hers. He held it like a promise. Then the doors flung wide again. A small voice pierced the grandeur. Mommy Emma froze. Oliver, in a little white shirt and crooked blue bow tie, scampered across the polished floor. His aunt called after him, apologetic, but the boy had already barreled into the crowd. Gasps and chuckles rippled through the room. But Oliver didn't care. He ran straight to Emma, hugging her legs tight. "Mommy, you look like a princess, just like in my storybook." Laughter rose lighter this time, not cruel. Emma's eyes blurred with tears as Liam bent down and scooped Oliver up with ease. "And every princess," Liam said softly, "has a knight to guard her. Right, Oliver?" Oliver shook his head, grinning wide. "No, I'm not a knight. I'm a T-Rex, but I'll still protect Mommy." Warm laughter spread wider, softening the edges of the evening. For once, no one could mock what was so pure. Emma's cheeks flushed, but her heart swelled. In Liam's arms and Oliver's embrace, she felt the truth stronger than any judgment. Love was real. Family was real. And for the first time, she didn't feel out of place at all. But then Vanessa returned, red gown blazing. Her eyes lingered on Oliver, then cut to Emma. Her smile was velvet and venom. "How charming," she said sweetly. A fairy tale in motion, the waitress, the child, and the millionaire prince. But fairy tales don't usually last long, do they? Emma stiffened, the ballroom air heavy again. But before she could falter, Oliver straightened in Liam's arms, his little voice ringing clear. "You're wrong. This isn't a fairy tale. This is my family." The room stilled. A hush rippled through the guests. Emma clutched her son, tears streaming now. Liam's hand settled firmly on Oliver's shoulder, his voice low but resolute. "And no one, Vanessa, has the right to deny that." Vanessa's eyes flashed, her jaw tightening, but she turned away, her perfume trailing like smoke. Emma exhaled, trembling. "I don't think I can take much more of this." Liam's gaze locked on hers, steady, unflinching. "You won't have to. From now on, wherever you walk, you'll never walk alone." In that glittering room beneath chandeliers and judgment, Emma understood her worth wasn't defined by whispers. It was defined by the ones who chose her, her son, and the man beside her. And for the first time, she lifted her chin high, her heart strong enough to meet the eyes of the world. Part 8. A Threat from the Past. For a few days after the gala, Emma allowed herself to believe the storm had passed. Life settled into something almost gentle mornings. At her laptop, drafting stories. Afternoons, visiting her mother in the hospital evenings. With Oliver over simple dinners. Liam's presence was quiet but constant. A message to check in a hot coffee, left on her desk, sometimes even his car, waiting out front to bring her and Oliver home. For the first time in years, Emma began to feel like she had a home, however fragile, stitched together by trust. Then everything shattered with a single phone call. It was late. Emma had just tucked Oliver into bed when her phone lit up with a name that froze her blood. David. Her hands trembled as she answered. The voice on the other end was rough, cold, laced with arrogance she remembered all too well. "Emma," he said, "we need to talk about Oliver." Her pulse slammed in her chest. "You have no right to even say his name," she snapped, her voice shaking. "You left when I was pregnant. You weren't there when he was sick, when I worked double shifts to buy formula. You've never been a father." There was silence, then a bitter, humorless laugh. "But I am his legal father, and I intend to make that matter. I've already spoken to a lawyer. I'm filing for custody." The words sliced through her like a blade. Emma staggered back, clutching the bedpost for balance. You can't." "Oh, I can," David sneered. "I hear you've been seen with Liam Callahan. Do you think a courtroom will see that as a stable environment for a child paparazzi? Scandals? Endless scrutiny? That's not safe. I'll use your choices against you, Emma. You won't win." Her phone slipped from her grip, clattering to the floor. Emma sank onto her knees, tears spilling hot down her cheeks. Across the room, Oliver slept peacefully, his face soft and innocent. The sight nearly broke her. "No, I can't lose him. Oliver is everything." She pressed her forehead to the mattress, whispering a vow through sobs. "I'll never let anyone take you from me. Not ever." The hotel room door opened just then. Liam walked in, carrying a small bag of takeout. His expression changed instantly when he saw her collapsed on the floor, eyes swollen from crying. "Emma." His voice sharpened. He dropped the bag on the table and knelt in front of her. She lifted her tear-streaked face. He called, "David." He said, "He's going to take Oliver." Liam's jaw clenched, fury flashing in his eyes. But his voice, when it reached her, was calm, low, steady. "Tell me exactly what he said." Her words spilled out between sobs. "He said he's hired a lawyer. He said he'll use our being together as proof Oliver isn't safe, that your world will destroy him." Liam inhaled slowly, fighting the anger burning in his chest. Then he took her trembling hands into his own. "Emma, listen to me. You've carried this fight alone for years, but this," his voice dropped to a vow, "this you will not face alone. I won't let anyone take your son." She shook her head wildly. "You don't understand. David abandoned us, yes, but the law doesn't care. He still has rights. I don't have money for lawyers. I don't have anything but me, and that isn't enough." His grip tightened around her hands, his gaze unwavering. "Emma, I've gone to war with corporations twice my size. I've defended thousands of employees from being crushed. But this is the most important fight of my life. I swear to you, I'll use every resource I have to protect you and Oliver." Her tears blurred him, but she saw not just the powerful CEO. The world knew. She saw a man kneeling before her, willing to be her shield. Her voice broke. Liam, I'm so scared. He touched her cheek, voice fierce and unyielding. Then let me be your courage. No one, not even David, has the right to take away the family you fought to keep. 3 days later, in a quiet midtown cafe, Emma sat across from Liam. Her cappuccino had gone cold, untouched. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. Liam's hand covered hers steady. Let me do the talking, he murmured. Just listen. She nodded, her breath unsteady. The door swung open. David walked in his shirt, wrinkled his tie loose, but his eyes sharp with challenge. He spotted them and smirked as he dropped into a chair. Emma, he drawled. His gaze slid to Liam. And of course, Callahan. Didn't think you'd drag a billionaire into this, but fitting. Emma's shoulders tightened, but Liam's hand anchored her. His voice was cool, calm steel. I'm here because Emma isn't alone anymore. Say what you came to say. David leaned forward, voice dripping with spite. I want my son. I'm filing for custody. And I promise you, the media will love the story of a child trapped under Callahan's shadow. Cameras, scandals, strangers prying into his life. That's not a childhood. I'll make sure the court sees it. Emma's face drained of color, but Liam didn't flinch. He slid a thick folder onto the table. His voice was razor sharp. These are hospital records, legal guardianship papers, statements from doctors and neighbors. Every page shows one thing: David Monroe abandoned his child. You were absent from day one. If you want to stand before a judge, prepare to hear Oliver himself say he doesn't even know who you are. David's hand twitched on the table, knuckles white. Rage flickered across his face, but he forced out a brittle laugh. You think money and lawyers erase the truth? I am his father. Emma's voice cut in, fragile but fierce. A father isn't a title on paper. It's love. It's presence. It's showing up. You never gave Oliver any of that. David froze for half a second at her words, but bitterness soon hardened his features. His eyes narrowed on Liam. Careful, Callahan. You don't know what you've stepped into. Liam leaned in, gaze steady as stone. I know exactly what I've stepped into. I'm protecting the woman I care about. And the boy you abandoned. The air between them crackled. David shoved back from the table, slammed his palm down once, and stormed out, leaving tension in his wake. Emma's strength crumbled the moment the door shut. She buried her face in her hands, sobs breaking free. Liam pulled her into his chest, holding her as if to anchor her to the ground. Shh, he whispered. He won't win. I swear to you, Emma, he will never take Oliver away. Not while I'm breathing. Her voice was muffled against him. I can't lose him, Liam. He's all I have. Liam kissed the crown of her head, his words rough but certain. You won't lose him. You have me now. And I'll use everything I am, money, power, even my life, to protect your family. Our family. That word family hit her like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. She lifted her tear-streaked face, meeting his eyes. For the first time, she felt something stronger than fear, faith. That night, back at the hotel, Oliver clung to her legs when she walked in. Mommy, you were gone so long. I thought maybe you left me. Emma dropped to her knees, crushing him to her chest. Never, she whispered fiercely. No one will ever take me away from you. Not ever. He buried his face into her neck, whispering, I believe you, Mommy. Her tears fell into his hair, but this time they carried resolve. She kissed his forehead, murmuring, Thank you for believing in me, even when I don't believe in myself. From the doorway, Liam watched silently, the lamplight catching the steel in his gaze. He knew this was only the beginning. David wouldn't give up easily. But he also knew this Emma and Oliver weren't alone anymore, and he would make sure they never were again. Part 9. Protected. Morning broke over New York, beneath a heavy sky, the kind of gray that promised rain. Emma sat in the corner of a quiet cafe, her cappuccino cooling in her hands. She gripped the cup so tightly she could no longer feel its warmth. Her heart hammered in her chest. Every time the door opened, she flinched. Liam sat beside her, composed as always, his dark suit sharp against the cafe's humble walls. But his attention wasn't on the curious glances of strangers. It was on her, the woman trembling by his side. "Emma," he said softly, leaning close, his voice steady and low. "I want you to remember something. Whatever happens today, you're not alone. I'll speak for you if I have to. I'll stand in front of you if I must." Tears shimmered in her eyes as she whispered, "I'm scared, Liam. Scared he'll take everything I've built. Scared the court will believe him just because he carries the title of father." Liam covered her hands with his own, warm and unyielding. "They won't believe a title. They'll believe the truth. And the truth is, this you raised Oliver with love, sacrifice, and strength. The truth is, he was never there. I'll make sure everyone sees that." The door creaked open, and a gust of cold wind swept through. David entered, tall and sharp-edged, his smirk cutting across the room. He pulled up a chair opposite them, his tone dripping with contempt. How touching, he sneered. The mighty CEO playing bodyguard for a waitress. "Emma, do you even realize you're using him?" Emma's face blanched, her hands trembling in Liam's grasp. But before she could respond, Liam's voice filled the space, calm and absolute. "No, David. She's not using me. She's been used by you. Your absence, your threats, your attempt to twist the law into a weapon. That ends now." He placed a thick folder onto the table with deliberate weight. Inside this file are medical records, guardian papers, sworn statements from neighbors and doctors. Every page proves you abandoned Oliver. If you want to stand in court, I'll be there front row with a team of lawyers you'll never outrun. Trust me, you won't win." Emma's chest tightened, not just from his words, but from the way he said them, with the fierce, steady gaze of a man determined to shield her and her son. David let out a dry laugh, pushing the folder aside. So dramatic. Callahan Global against a simple man who only wants to see his son. But let's be honest, Emma was never good enough. A dropout waitress, living in a leaky apartment. How could she teach Oliver anything but failure? Emma froze. The words sliced through her like glass, awakening every old wound. Every night she'd cried alone, convinced she wasn't enough. But Liam didn't let her fall. His voice cracked like thunder. "Enough." The cafe stilled. Even nearby patrons turned their heads. Liam's eyes burned into David's. "You call her a failure. This woman carried your child alone when you walked away. She worked double shifts, sacrificed her dreams, and kept a roof over his head. She gave Oliver laughter when her own eyes were raw from crying. That is not failure, David. That is strength you'll never understand." Emma's tears spilled, but for the first time they carried release. Liam's words pulled the weight from her chest, letting light pour in. He leaned closer, his voice fierce, unwavering. "The truth is, Oliver doesn't need a man who abandoned him. He needs a home, a safe embrace, a role model to admire. Emma has given him all of that. Silence rippled through the cafe. Strangers, who moments ago had stared with judgment, now looked at Emma with quiet respect. Even David faltered, his mouth tightening, with no words to fire back. But he rallied, leaning back with a cruel smile. Fine. I'll admit, Emma's done her best. But Oliver needs a real family. A mother and a father. Can you give him that, Emma? Or will you raise him in cheap hotel rooms while you scribble stories no one reads? Emma's hands shook. Her voice cracked. You think I don't ask myself that every night? You think I don't fear he'll grow up with less than he deserves? But at least I never abandoned him. At least I never turned my back. David's smirk deepened. Then admit it. Admit you're not enough. The table shook as Liam's hand slammed down his composure, breaking at last. His voice rang through the cafe, raw and charged. You're right about one thing: Oliver needs a complete family. And he has one, because he has Emma, and he has me. Emma gasped, tears streaking her face. Liam, she whispered. He turned to her eyes, softening, glowing with something she had never dared hope to see. Emma, I should have said this sooner. I love you. I love your strength, your sacrifice, your heart. I love the way you put Oliver above everything, even yourself. You and Oliver, you are the family I've been searching for. The cafe hummed with whispers, but Emma heard nothing else. Her world narrowed to the man beside her, the man who had just laid down his heart like a shield at her feet. She broke into sobs this time, not of fear, but of relief. She was seen, defended, cherished. Liam's hand rested against her back, steady and warm, pulling her into safety she had never known. David shoved his chair back, rage twisting his features. Think you've won? This isn't over. He stormed out the door, slamming behind him. The bell above the frame jingled like a final note of a storm passing. Emma sat trembling, breath ragged, but the darkness in her chest was gone. Liam pressed a handkerchief into her palm, his voice gentle. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. You've already done more than enough. Her voice broke. You don't understand. I've fought alone for so long. Every night I've feared someone would take Oliver. I've lived in terror, never once breathing freely. And tonight, when David said those words, I thought maybe he was right. Liam leaned closer, his eyes fierce. You don't have to be strong alone anymore. You have me now. And I will never ever let anyone tear you and Oliver apart. Her tears blurred everything but his face. Slowly, she reached across the table, her trembling hand finding his. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I only know. For the first time, I don't want to run anymore. Because you're here. He squeezed her hand, his voice a promise. Then let me stay here forever. She laughed through her sobs, the sound breaking open the dam of fear inside her. Outside, rain began to patter against the windows. But inside the cafe, with his hand locked around hers, Emma felt safe. Truly safe. That night, back at the hotel, Oliver looked up from his picture book the moment she walked in. His little body shot off the bed and into her arms. Mommy, you were gone so long I thought you forgot me. Emma knelt, clutching him tight, burying her face in his hair. Never. No one will ever take me from you. Oliver giggled into her neck. I know, because you're my superhero. Emma laughed through tears, kissing his forehead. Then this superhero has found a partner, someone who will help me protect you. Oliver blinked up, curious. Who, Mommy? Emma turned her head. Liam stood in the doorway, suit damp from rain, eyes soft as they watched. She smiled through her tears. Mr. Liam. Oliver's face lit up. He bounded over, wrapping his arms around Liam's legs. Then your superhero, number 2, and I'm T-Rex, will all fight together. Liam swept the boy into his arms, smiling in a way Emma had never seen in him before. Unguarded, warm. Deal. The 3 of us. A team. No one will ever break us apart. Emma's chest ached with a mix of joy and disbelief. All she had ever wanted was a family, not wealth, not luxury, just someone to stand beside her. And now, in the simple hotel room, it was standing before her. Oliver's laughter, Liam's steady presence, her own heart finally unclenched. She whispered into the night, more vow than prayer. No matter what storms come, Oliver, you'll never grow up afraid again. Because now, we have a family. The rain drummed steadily against the glass, but inside, warmth filled the room. And for the first time in years, Emma believed love itself could be her shelter. Part 10. A New Family. The little bookstore on Fifth Avenue glowed that late afternoon golden light, spilling from chandeliers onto dark wooden shelves. The scent of roasted coffee drifted in from the cafe counter, mingling with the rustle of turning pages. At the center, a long table draped in white cloth displayed neat stacks of books. Across every cover, the title shimmered, Light Beyond the Tunnel, A Mother's Journey. Behind the table sat Emma, wearing a simple sky blue dress. Her hands trembled each time she opened a fresh copy to sign her name. With every signature, her heart fluttered, still stunned that her words now lived in print, waiting in the hands of eager readers. Beside her, little Oliver sat with his legs swinging, bursting with pride. He introduced her to strangers with a grin that could light the room. This is my mommy. She wrote this book. Laughter followed him everywhere, and more than one guest bent down to say, "You have a wonderful mother." Emma's throat tightened at those words. For so many years, she had bowed her head beneath judgment, invisible in a city that devoured the weak. Yet now, her son's proud voice was the loudest truth in the room. In the front row, Liam sat quietly, hands folded, gaze steady. To everyone else, he was still the commanding CEO, sharp suit and all. But in this moment, he looked simply like a man in love, content to watch the woman who had captured his heart shine at last. An older woman approached the table, eyes glistening as Emma handed back her signed copy. She took Emma's hand in hers, whispering, "Your story." It reminded me of my own raising 2 children alone. Thank you for writing this. Thank you for being brave. Emma clasped her hand tightly, tears welling. No, thank you for proving women like us are never truly alone. Oliver climbed into her lap, wrapping his arms around her neck, just as Liam rose, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. For one quiet moment, the 3 of them formed a circle of love in the middle of the glowing bookstore. Flashbulbs popped, capturing the picture of a family bound not by perfection, but by choice. The manager stepped forward with a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor to welcome author Emma Carter, whose memoir, Light Beyond the Tunnel, has touched countless hearts. Please, a round of applause. The room erupted with clapping. Emma rose, gripping the microphone, her eyes shimmering beneath the stage lights. She faltered for only a heartbeat before drawing a deep breath. Some might say, I'm living a dream tonight. But this dream was built from nights I scrubbed dishes in a diner, from mornings I fell asleep on a subway with my son in my arms. I once believed I would never escape that darkness. The room stilled. A few listeners wiped their eyes. There were nights I doubted if I was enough as a mother. I had no money, no safety net, only a love so fierce it refused to let me give up. That love carried me through fear, through exhaustion, through silence. And then, one moment changed everything. I was so tired I fell asleep on a stranger's shoulder on a midnight train. And that stranger saw me when the whole world looked away. Her gaze lifted to Liam. He didn't move, only gave a small nod, his eyes shining. If I stand here today, Emma continued, her voice, breaking yet sure, it isn't just because of my strength. It's because of the hands that caught me when I was falling, my son Oliver and Liam. They showed me that I deserve a family. I deserve joy. Sniffles rippled through the audience. An elderly man nodded slowly. A young mother pressed a tissue to her eyes. Emma lowered the mic chest, heaving with release. And then Mommy Oliver bolted from the front row, racing onto the stage. He clung to her legs, his voice echoing through the microphone she still held. I'm so proud of you, Mommy. You're my hero. The room froze, then erupted into tender laughter and teary smiles. Emma knelt, scooping her son into her arms, tears falling freely. My sweet boy, you're the reason I'm here. From the audience, Liam rose and walked forward, calm and steady, every step erasing the space between them. When Emma lifted her eyes, he was already there, no longer just the CEO on magazine covers, but the man who had chosen to stand with them. He placed a hand on Oliver's shoulder, the other at Emma's back. Flashbulbs flared again, but Emma saw only Oliver's smile and Liam's unwavering gaze. Oliver raised his little hand proudly to the crowd. This is my family. Applause thundered, not just for Emma, but for all three. Strangers wept, and couples reached for each other's hands, reminded that love could still rewrite what life had broken. That night, as the bookstore emptied and rain glistened on the pavement outside, Emma walked hand in hand with Liam, while Oliver skipped between them. Her heart swelled with a certainty she had never known this was home. Back at the hotel, Liam tucked Oliver into bed with a tenderness that stole Emma's breath. Later, on the balcony overlooking the glittering city, he turned to her, voice low but unshaking. Emma, today I realized I don't want to stand outside your story anymore. I want to build it with you. You and Oliver are my home. Let me be yours. Tears blurred her vision. Liam, I never believed I deserved you, but you've taught me that I do. That love doesn't measure worth, it creates it. In the hush of the night, he pulled her into his arms. For the first time in years, Emma leaned in without fear. 1 year later, autumn returned to New York. Leaves blazed gold outside that same bookstore, where Emma now launched her second book, Fires That Never Die. The room brimmed with readers. Her name celebrated her words, embraced. Oliver, 5 years old, handed out stickers proudly. Liam sat in the front row, his eyes shining brighter than any success the business world had ever given him. And when Emma spoke into the microphone, her voice carried calm strength. I once thought survival meant silence. But I've learned the world opens when you tell your truth. And I've learned no one walks their journey alone. My son is my light. And the man sitting right there, her gaze met Liam's, is my shelter. Real love doesn't care about titles or wealth. It simply chooses to stay. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Oliver leapt on stage, throwing his arms wide. Our family is unstoppable. Laughter and applause filled the room as Liam joined them, arms circling mother and child. The camera flashes immortalized the moment a woman who once wept alone in the shadows, now radiant in the arms of her son and the man who chose them both. And as Emma looked out at the sea of faces, she knew this was not just her story. It was theirs. A story that proved sometimes a single act of kindness, a shoulder offered to a weary stranger, can change the course of a life forever. Emma's heart whispered the truth she wanted the world to remember. Believe in kindness. It has the power to rewrite everything.